Good evening. It's getting cold outside. Bundle up. Iowa didn't play, which was fine with everybody. Northwestern's probably going to beat them by like 10, 12 points. Their quarterback's not pretty good. He's athletic. He's young. He's figuring it out. But our defense is good. I just think their defense is probably better than our offense to the point, and their offense will score enough where our defense can't make it up, or special teams, or same old story as it always is. But yeah, I think Northwestern might take it to them, but we'll see. I've been wrong before. It's at Wrigley. Who knows? I'm not sure what time that game is. I'll look at it a little bit later, but yeah. Can't remember who Northwestern played yesterday. Oh, Maryland, I think. They were beating them down, and I thought Maryland was pretty good. But yeah, Iowa had the week off. Florida State, they had an 11 o'clock game against Wake Forest. I thought the 11 o'clock and a little bit chilly up in Wake Forest would get to them, but the first four plays went to Keon. And I think like the first 8 or 9 plays in total were passes, and then they ran it a couple times, and then Travis remembered that he had legs again, and he ran in for like a 22-yard rush or something like that. But Keon had 2 touchdowns in the first half, I believe. Only like 60-some yards, 66, 67 yards on 5 catches or something like that. But 2 of them he took to the house. One was a one-handed catch in the end zone. And that cornerback for Wake Forest was supposed to be pretty good. And he was good, but they were just throwing it up to him, and Keon was making ridiculous catches. He's incredible. They put up a stat that I think he has 9 touchdown catches in his first 8 games of the season. Last person to do that for the Noles was Greg Carr, which Greg Carr would not have been in my first 20 guesses. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe not 20, probably 15. I would have gone Greg Reed. I would have gone Rashad Green, Kelvin Benjamin. Who was that dude who wore number 5 and he just kind of fizzled out his senior year? He wasn't even part of the team. It's just a few years ago. What was that dude's name? They've had a lot of good receivers. Greg Carr, though, was the last one to do it. And now Keon's the last one to do it. Just a second. I'm trying to find out who that receiver was. Oh, not Wilson Wright Jr. That was just a couple weeks ago. Micah Pittman, Taiwan Easterling. I forgot about all these guys. Tamarion Terry. That was in 2020. He opted out. 2020. A lot of things going on. Tamarion Terry. He was super good his sophomore year. His freshman year, he was coming on, and then his sophomore year, he was super good. Junior year, I think he had some injuries, but he was doing all right. And Tamarion Terry. That's the guy I was trying to think of. Anyway, Keon had 2 touchdowns. In the first half, Travis had 300 yards. And Wake Forest had like 80. The defense played, obviously they played well, holding them to What was the score at halftime? Let me see. Score at halftime was, what the fuck is this? 34-7. Travis had 300 yards. I think he had a couple touchdowns. That pass he threw into Morlock was beautiful. I mean, he couldn't have thrown that ball any better. The leading receiver in yards was Benson because he ripped off that long one, that 80-yarder. He's 6'1", 11, 212, running away from guys, running through guys. Nobody tackles him on the first. He's incredible. I wish they would give him the ball more. Him and Tolofili and Holmes and Hill. I mean, they have a stable of backs. I've been saying this. Get them some reps, and they are. I mean, Benson had 10 carries for 55 yards, 1 touchdown. His longest was 18 yards. So 5.5 yards a carry is pretty damn good, especially when the long is only 18. That means he's averaging 4 or 5 true yards a carry, which is pretty good. Travis had 7 rushes for 29 yards and a touchdown. His longest was 14, so I guess his touchdown was probably 14 yards. I thought it was a little longer than that. And then Holmes had 4 carries for 19 yards, a long of 16. So he really had 3 carries for 3 yards and 1 long one. Hill had 5 carries for 11 yards. Tolofili only got 1 carry for 9 yards. Yeah, then receiving, Benson had 4 catches for 101 yards and 1 touchdown, along of 80. Great catch. If you go back and watch the catch, he had his arms fully extended, coming out of the backfield, which is always, you don't know if you're going to get popped. You don't know what's about to happen, but you just got to catch the ball, and he did. And then he just turned it upfield. He was taking a good angle, and then he took another good angle. I thought he should have just kept going across the field. But towards like the, I don't even know, 15-yard line, 10-yard line, he started turning back towards, and he scored. So I'm not saying anything. I just thought it was an interesting run by him, but he was trucking. And then Keon had 12 targets, only 7 catches, 66 yards, and 2 touchdowns, long of 29. So yeah, he had his 2 touchdowns in the first half, and then he just kind of shut it down. Jaheim Bell had 5 targets, 4 catches, 51 yards, along of 38. They like getting him the ball. Travis likes having Bell being a safety out of the backfield or that safe route. He looks to it a lot, which it's effective. Obviously, it's 10 yards a catch, long of 38, so like 6-7 yards a catch. Morlock had 2 catches for 45. That one that Travis dropped in there was for 32 yards. Douglas had 2 catches for 36. He made 1 big catch for 33 yards. Potier had 1 catch for 33 yards. He had that touchdown where he mossed that dude and scored. He like walked into the end zone after he just stole this ball from the cornerback, but there was a holding call on it. If you can go back and watch the game, I think it was in the 3rd quarter. I'm not sure. It might have been in the 2nd quarter, actually. Portier, makes a ridiculous catch, and then walks like 7 yards into the end zone. Williamson had 1 catch for 23 yards. He dropped one that I remember, maybe 2. So he's got to bring his hands. They didn't play, or at least they didn't throw to Hakeem Williams. That's all right. I mean, you don't want to get him nicked up in Wake Forest, especially if the guy who's out there is taking care of business. I mean, they won 41-16. Covered the spread. Florida State was favored by 21 points, and they won by 25. Over under 53.5, and it was 57. Not a betting man, but for those of you that are, Sephora savings event. Hill had one catch for 23 yards. Tolafili had one catch for 5 yards. I wonder why he didn't play much. Is he banged up or something, Tolafili? He touched the ball twice for 14 yards. And Deuce Spann had one catch for 5 yards. Where's the tackles at? Why do they not show the... My goodness. Why would they not show the tackles or the defensive stats? Fuck. But that moves Florida State to 8-0. Next week they go up to Pitt, I believe, and I think it's an early game again. So again, that cold weather is going to sock them in their face. What is this? Why is it so hard to fucking... I just want the stats, man. Ugh. Did you hear that scratch like it was on a chalkboard? Ugh. All right, here we go. I've been ragging ESPN as a network for a long time, but I could not find the defensive stats for a college football game until I went to their website. So credit where credit is due. Their website got me what I needed. So here I am. Wake Forest is now 1-4 in the conference, 4-4 overall. So they're just above Syracuse, second to last place in the ACC. They next play Pitt, who is 1-3, 2-6 overall. And then they play Miami, then nobody, then Florida. Let's look at those defensive stats. Bethune led the team with 9 tackles, 3 solo, a half sack, and a half tackle for loss. Deloach, 8 tackles. So that's what you want to see, your linebackers cleaning up. Bethune and Deloach leading the team in tackles. Deloach had 8 tackles, 5 solo, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for a loss. So Deloach just playing his heart out. Let me read that line again. Kalen Deloach had 8 tackles, 5 solo, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. Byron Turner Jr. had 6 total tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for a loss. Akeem Dent had 5 tackles for 4 solo. Lundy had 5 total for 1 solo and a half tackle for loss. Shaheem had 4 tackles. Verse had 4 tackles. Did you see that cut underneath Verse's eye? That's why he was down for a while. He got a nasty cut below his right eye, I believe. Had to go and get some stitches and then came back into the game. And I don't believe he was wearing a mask or a shield. He could have been, but I don't remember seeing it. Patrick Payton had 3 tackles, a half sack, 2.5 tackles for a loss for Patrick Payton. Daniel Lyons had 4 tackles, 3 solo. Edmond had 4 tackles, 1 solo. Renardo had 3. Fisk had 3 total, but none solo. So he's just always ganging up. Let's see here. Greedy Vance did not have any tackles. Farmer did not. Cypress did not. Knowles had 1. Hebert, Cottrell had 1. Lovett had 1. Nicholson had 2. Jarian, he made a good play on a punt. I think he downed it inside on like the 1-yard line. Jarian hustling down on punt coverage. I've come full circle on Jarian. I used to hate on him a lot, but he was still figuring out the speed of the game. Yeah, but he's come a long way, and he plays hard whenever he's in there. And he made a good play on the punt team that I made a note of. Is Colleen Carson was he the good cornerback? I believe so, right? Carson? He had 5 tackles, 4 solo, 1 pass defense, but he was getting balled on all day by Keon and others. Yeah, so Florida State 6-0 in the conference, 8-0 overall. Louisville looks tough. They're scary if I'm being honest. North Carolina lost again to Georgia Tech. So both North Carolina and Georgia Tech are 3-2. North Carolina drops to 6-2. Georgia Tech is 4-4. Wow. Duke is now 5-3. The Canes are 6-2. BC's 5-3. NC State, who beat Clemson, is 5-3. Clemson is 2-4 in the ACC and 4-4 overall. Wow. How the mighty have fallen. At least for them, I'm not saying that anybody, I mean, there's still a lot of football to be played. I hope Florida State keeps playing hard. I mean, they got to go play Pitt, who's 1-3 and 2-6 overall, but you never know. I think it's a morning game. We'll look at next week's schedule here in a little bit, but yeah, they should be able to handle business against Pitt. It's a trap game because they got the Canes at home the week after. So Mike and he will has got to get them focused on, what is it, November 4th, I think, is next Saturday. Man, I can't believe it's November. October just flew by, huh? Halloween, today's the 29th of October. All right, let's get into some scores here. Yeah, so I thought Florida State looked impressive against Wake Forest. I had forgotten that they were on a 3-game losing streak to Wake Forest. Wake Forest had beat them 3 years in a row. I think RG3 called it a steal your bike back game, which, as annoying and corny as RG3 can be, I thought that was pretty funny and pretty accurate. He went on to explain it, but again, I think if you can watch like the Big Ten, I haven't seen it on the ACC, but I imagine they replay some games 60 and 60 or something like that, where they cut out all the commercials and the reviews and the injuries and this and that, some of the penalties. Which, no, you can't do that. So you got to watch the whole game, because RG3 was making all kinds of comments like he always does. But it's showing me that San Jose State beat Hawaii 35-0 today, Sunday. That's because that game didn't start till 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. So it didn't get over till like 2, 3 in the morning. That was at Clarence T.C. Ching Complex in Honolulu, Hawaii. San Jose State walks out of there 35-0, and gets to fly home probably Monday. I would assume they would give them the day off, right? Like, okay, you stomped them. We're going to stay another day. Maybe even Monday. Maybe they'll even extend it to Monday, Tuesday. They don't go back to San Jose State till Wednesday or Thursday. That'd be hilarious. That'd be my vote as a team captain. Be like, hey, give us a couple of days off. You guys can stay here too. Bring your family. But Florida State in the morning game beats Florida State beats Wake Forest 41-16. It was 34-7 at halftime. K-State wallops Houston at home 41-0. Penn State beats Indiana 33-24. I watched that game a little bit. Indiana was up at times. I mean, they had 2 crazy passes where Penn State just didn't play defense on the. They didn't have a corner, or the corner blitzed and nobody covered, and they had a 90-yard touchdown reception and like a 63-yard touchdown reception. Drew Aller is not that good. I don't know what all the hype was about, but they might want to look into who his backup is, because I'm sure Penn State gets good quarterbacks. They have probably a couple good backups, but they beat Penn State 33-24. They're now 7-1. They're not that good. I'm sure they still have to play Michigan, right? So they'll be top 15, but they're still overrated there. Yeah, Northwestern surprised me. I watched some of that too. Sullivan, that's the quarterback for Northwestern. He's going to run all over Iowa, I think. I'm ashamed to say that, but I think that's what's going to happen. But he had 265 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they beat Maryland 33-27. Northwestern is now 4-4. Kansas, I watched a good amount of that too. They beat Oklahoma for the first time in like 20, what was it? 27 years, 26 years, and the first time since 84, so 39 years and 3 weeks. They beat Oklahoma at home 38-33. That was a pretty good game. Gabriel just couldn't make a play right at the end. Bean looked pretty good for Kansas. He's quick, makes good decisions. Neal had 25 carries for 112 yards. It was a crazy game, but Oklahoma choked at the end. A&M beat South Carolina 30-17. A&M's now 5-3. South Carolina is 2-6. Spencer Rattler had 176 yards and 1 touchdown. SMU, who is now 6-2, beat Tulsa 69-10. It was 42-3 at halftime. 42-3. No. 52. 52-3 at halftime. Jesus Christ. It was 28-3 after the first quarter and 52-3 at halftime. Ease up on them, SMU. Boston College squeaks by UConn 21-14. UConn's 1-6 now. UMass beat Army 21-14. UMass is now 2-7 and Army is 2-6. West Virginia beat UCF 41-28. Western Michigan beat Eastern Michigan 45-21. NC State beat Clemson 24-17. Moving Clemson to 4-4. NC State is now 5-3. Memphis beat North Texas 45-42. Texas beat BYU 35-6, moving Texas to 7-1. This one surprised me. I thought Duke would put up a fight. I even picked Duke in my little ESPN.com college pick'em, against the spread and confidence, and then just straight up. That's my reminder not to bet money because I'm doing terrible in those things. I was up a bunch. I was in the top 900 in the spread. Now I'm in like the 8,000th place. And the confidence, I'm doing terrible. Straight up, I was doing okay. I was in the top 20,000, which was pretty good. It was like the 93rd percent. But anyway, Louisville blanks Duke 23-0. Louisville scares me a little bit. They're 7-1 now. Texas San Antonio beats East Carolina 41-27. Iowa State moves to 5-3. They beat Baylor on the road 30-18. Miami of Ohio beat Ohio 30-16 on the road. Miami of Ohio is now 7-2. Minnesota beat Michigan State 27-12. Auburn beat Mississippi State 27-13. Both teams are now 4-4. Oregon goes into Utah and stomps them 35-6. Oregon was ranked 8th. Utah was ranked 13th. Wow. Oregon's 7-1. Utah is 6-2. 35-6. It was 21-6 at halftime. 35-6 after the third quarter. Nobody scored in the fourth. Notre Dame puts up 58 on Pittsburgh, who scored 7 points. Notre Dame is now 7-2. Nebraska beat Purdue 31-14. Georgia beats down Florida 43-20. Was 26-7 at halftime, 36-7 after the third quarter. Appalachian State beats Southern Miss 48-38. And the Canes, University of Miami, Florida, beats Virginia in overtime 29-26. Van Dyke did not look very good at all, but I did like their running backs for Miami. They just got a couple back from injury, I think. Yeah, Van Dyke likes to throw to Restrepo. That's his boy. Virginia could have very easily won that game, but they didn't. Final score 29-26, moving the Canes to 6-2. Virginia is 2-6. Tulane beats Rice 30-28. USC beats Cal 50-49. Cal went for it for two. Cal went for two at the end to win it, and I didn't like the play call. I thought they could have got more creative, especially to win the game. But they tried. They lost. USC escapes 50-49. Arkansas State beat Louisiana Monroe 34-24. Louisiana beat South Alabama 33-20. Boise State upsets Wyoming 32-7. Coastal Carolina beat Marshall 34-16. Air Force beat Colorado State 30-13. Air Force is undefeated at 8-0. Tennessee beat Kentucky for the millionth time 33-27. Tennessee 6-2, but they're not that good. At least I don't think so. Milton, he's got a big arm. He can run, but sometimes he's just making boneheaded plays. I mean, they're good. They're tough, but are they top 10? I don't think so. Troy beat Texas State 31-13. Troy's 6-2. Washington had a tough time with Stanford. That Stanford guy dropped the ball on like 4th and 2. He was wide open at the 40-yard line. He would have ran for a little bit, and they were down. I think they were just down 1. It was 1 or 2, enough where if a field goal would have won it, I believe. And the guy dropped it. Feel terrible for him, but you got to catch that, man. Yeah, you feel terrible. You just dropped it. Would have got him a first down. There was plenty of time to keep moving, getting field goal range, maybe upset him, but Washington wins 42-33. That's how the cookie crumbles. Penix had 369 yards and 4 touchdowns. Polk had 5 catches for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns. Daniels for Stanford had 367 yards passing and 1 touchdown. He also ran for 18. He had 18 rushes for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. Damn. Stanford's a tough out. UCLA beat Colorado 28-16. I'm sure that'll be the highest watched game because it was at like 6:30. It was on ESPN, I believe. The only other game was Ohio State, Wisconsin. There was way too much red going on. Anyway, UCLA handled them pretty well. Colorado had some momentum. That targeting call on Shiloh Sanders was bullshit. I mean, come on. But I don't know that it was a matter of time before Colorado's offensive line broke down and couldn't keep up, got fatigued. Exactly what Deion said in his press conference, that he's got to go get new people. I don't know if you say that out loud or just behind closed doors in the locker room. That, I'm not a coach, but some people were making a big deal about it. He's just probably, in his mind, he probably thinks whatever I can tell those guys in the locker room, I can go out there and tell. However, it does look like he's throwing that current line under the bus. I mean, they're trying. One kid's from around here, but they're just not that big, not that strong. They're really struggling. People outpower them, outquick them. It's really no contest. I think at one time they showed a stat where Shadur had been hurried 22 times, which is a shit ton. It's basically every time you drop back, you're being, you got to scramble out of there. But I don't know if they'll get linemen. We'll see, but they have plenty of talent. There's no doubt about it, but they're now 4-4, and the rest of their schedule is pretty tough. But UCLA is 6-2. They got some players on that team. Ohio State goes to Madison and walks out of there 24-10. Ohio State's 8-0. Harrison had 6 catches, 123 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Henderson had 24 carries for 162 yards and a touchdown. Braylon Allen for the Badgers only had 10 carries for 50 yards. Badgers are now 5-3, moving Iowa in the first place in the Big Ten West, controlling their own destiny. Excuse me. Ole Miss beat Vanderbilt 33-7. Oklahoma State beat Cincinnati 45-13. Oklahoma State is 6-2 and Cincinnati is 2-6. I thought those two would be flip-flopped a little bit. I thought Cincinnati was better than they are, but apparently not. James Madison beats Old Dominion 30-27. James Madison is now undefeated at 8-0. Georgia Tech wins at home 46-42 against the 17th ranked North Carolina Tar Heels. Excuse me. North Carolina's second loss in a row. They're now 6-2. Georgia Tech is now 4-4. Arizona State beats Washington State 38-27 at home. ASU is 2-6 and Washington State is 4-4. Nevada beats New Mexico 34-24. It's Nevada's second win on the year. Arizona, who's pretty tough, they're now 5-3. They beat 11th ranked Oregon State 27-24. If you're watching this, you've probably seen the video of Oregon State lined up to kick a field goal to end the first half. Instead, they fake it from like 30-some yards away. Gets tackled, end of the half. They lose by 3 points. So boneheaded decision in hindsight, which is 2020, but that's Oregon State's second loss on the year. Arizona is tough. Fafita, their quarterback, had 275 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's the second time I've watched them because they're always on late. And that Fafita kid is a freshman, I think, and he's really good. But Oregon State, it was 10-10 at halftime. And yeah, Arizona got a field goal in the third quarter, and then both teams scored 2 touchdowns apiece for it to get to 27-24. It was a fun game. Fresno State versus UNLV. Fresno State wins at home 31-24. Fresno's now 7-1. If you saw the highlight there, UNLV guy dropped a touchdown in the end zone all alone. You got to feel for him there, but that's going to haunt him for the rest of his life. Feel bad for the guy, but got to catch it, man. Fresno put up 24 points in the third quarter and won 31-24 against UNLV. That was UNLV's first loss of the season, too, so you feel extra bad for that guy. But, yeah, just went right through his hands. FAU beat Charlotte 38-16. If you got to look at Charlotte's head coach, guy probably in his 60s, born to coach football. He had just a white shirt on, T-shirt, sleeves cut off. I think he had a hat on. I don't think he had a visor on. Maybe he did, but he had something on his head, a hat. Just born to coach football. But they go down, or at home actually, they lose to FAU 38-16. Tech beats Syracuse 38-10. Drone, he's pretty talented for Virginia Tech. You got to watch out for them. I got to see who they have left to play because they're going to upset some people. And Tootin's a good running back. We found that out when Florida State played them. Georgia Southern, I told you that would be a good game. They go and hand Georgia State, at home at Statesboro, Georgia. Remember I was talking about Statesboro last week, how beautiful of a city it is. Georgia Southern defends their home 44-27 against Georgia State. Both teams are now 6-2. That was on Friday, I think. No, that was on Thursday. Jacksonville State moves to 7-2 by beating Florida International 41-16. Jacksonville State, after that last-second Hail Mary to beat Florida State a few years ago, the recruits they got from that play are finally paying off. They're doing well. UTEP beat Sam Houston 37-34. Sam Houston is now 0-8 on the season. New Mexico State beat Louisiana Tech 27-24. And to round up the week, Liberty beat Western Kentucky 42-29. Liberty is now 8-0. So what a week it was. It went fast, didn't it? Felt like it went fast. That was week 9. Damn. So we're already at week 10. On Tuesday, Northern Illinois and Rocky Lombardi from right down the street go to Central Michigan, which is in Mount Pleasant, Minnesota. I bet that's a lovely place this time of year. Actually, it's probably pretty cold. That's why I have all this gear on. These clothes on. It's like 32 degrees. It's at freezing right now. With the wind, it's pretty chilly out there. But Northern Illinois goes to Central Michigan and plays on Tuesday, Halloween night, 6 p.m. Very scary. Buffalo goes to Toledo. Same thing on Tuesday at 6:30, Halloween night. Ball State goes to Bowling Green on Wednesday. Kent State goes to Akron. I think that's a battle of, let me look at that. I think they each only have one win on the season. Kent State at Akron on Wednesday night on ESPNU. TCU goes to Texas Tech on Thursday. South Alabama goes to Troy on Thursday. 6 and 6:30 on those games. Also on Thursday, Wake Forest goes to Duke. That's interesting. Duke is 12.5-point favorites. They got to really come back after getting mollywopped by Louisville last week. That's on Thursday. On Friday, Boston College goes to Syracuse. Also on Friday, Colorado State goes to Wyoming. Laramie, Wyoming. On Saturday, to open it up at 11 a.m., Arkansas goes to Florida. Florida is 5-point favorites, which makes sense. North Carolina, Campbell goes to North Carolina. Jacksonville State goes to South Carolina. K-State, 25th ranked K-State, goes to Texas at 11 a.m. Notre Dame goes to Clemson. Notre Dame is 3-point favorites going into Clemson at 11 a.m. I could see Clemson playing tough, but I just think Notre Dame beats them down at the end. So I think I think Notre Dame walks out of there. That would move Clemson to 4-5 on the season. Wow. Unbelievable. Nebraska travels to Michigan State. They should beat them, no problem. Ohio State goes to Rutgers. Sneaky because nobody likes to go to East Piscataway, New Jersey. That's at 11 p.m., so that'll be chilly too. Ohio State at Rutgers. They're 18.5-point favorites. Texas A&M goes to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is only 4.5-point favorites at home. 11 o'clock on ESPN. That Ohio State-Rutgers game is on CBS. Notre Dame at Clemson's on ABC. Nebraska-Michigan State's on Fox Sports 1. K-State at Texas is on Fox. Wow. UConn goes to Tennessee. Nobody trying to watch that. Nor are they trying to watch Wisconsin at Indiana. Oh, at 11 a.m. Kennesaw State plays Sam Houston at noon. Arizona State plays Utah at 1. That should be mildly entertaining for at least a half. Georgia Tech goes to Virginia. Navy goes to Temple. Army goes to undefeated Air Force. FAU goes to UAB. South Florida goes to Memphis. We're at the 2 o'clock time slot now. Texas San Antonio goes to North Texas. Louisiana goes to Arkansas State. 2:30. Coastal Carolina goes to Old Dominion. Florida State goes to Pitt at 2:30. I like that. The sun will be out. It'll be somewhat warm, as warm as it's going to be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on November 4th at 2:30 p.m. Florida State is 21.5-point favorites. That's interesting. Also at 2:30, Houston goes to Baylor. Battle of Texas. Illinois goes to Minnesota. Iowa goes to Northwestern, where they're 6-point favorites. If I was a betting man, I would hammer Northwestern all day long, but that's just me. James Madison, who's undefeated, goes to Georgia State. Ooh, that's in Atlanta. That's a interesting game. James Madison is 5.5-point favorites. Georgia State, I think, is going to beat them. That's at 2:30. James Madison looked vulnerable last week. They were tested to the end of the game. I mean, they came out victorious, but they showed some holes there. And I think Georgia State's going to study that tape, and they have athletes. And I think James Madison is going down for the first loss of the year, but that's just me. 2:30 next Saturday. Merrimack goes to UMass, 2:30. Missouri goes to Georgia. Wow. That's at 2:30 on CBS. That'll be Vern and what's his name, right? Nestler. Is that what their names are? Missouri at Georgia. Missouri is 14. I think they've only lost once. Georgia. It's in Athens. Man, there's a lot of games going on in Georgia. Next weekend, Missouri at Georgia. Georgia's 16-point favorites. Wow. Ooh. Bedlam. Oklahoma's at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma's 6-point favorites. Same thing. Oklahoma showed some holes. Obviously, they lost to Kansas last week, or this week, yesterday. Oklahoma State's going to study that tape and see if they can knock off Oklahoma 2 weeks in a row going down. But I don't think so. I think Oklahoma takes care of business. Penn State goes to Maryland. Maryland's coming off a licking from Northwestern, I believe, or I think Northwestern. I can't remember. But Penn State, number 9 Penn State, they're not that good, goes to Maryland. Maryland might be able to upset them. Tulane goes to East Carolina. We're still in the 2:30. UFC goes to Cincinnati. Virginia Tech goes to Louisville. That's at 2:30. That Virginia Tech quarterback is Drones, I think is his name. He's shifty. He's good. Maybe they can make that interesting against Louisville, but Louisville's looking good right now. They're scary. Auburn goes to Vanderbilt. Charlotte goes to Tulsa. Hawaii goes to Nevada. Louisiana Monroe goes to Southern Mississippi. California goes to Oregon. Louisiana Tech goes to Liberty. Marshall goes to App State. Middle Tennessee goes to New Mexico State. UNLV goes to New Mexico. BYU goes to West Virginia. Georgia Southern goes to Texas State. The 22-ranked Kansas Jayhawks go to Ohio State. No way. The 22nd ranked Kansas Jayhawks travel to Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. Play Iowa State. Iowa State is 1-point favorites. Wow. Utah State goes to San Diego State. Purdue goes to Michigan. Michigan is 32.5-point favorites. Wow. SMU goes to Rice. Kentucky goes to Mississippi State in Starkville, Mississippi. Washington goes to USC. Washington is 4-point favorites. At the Coliseum. That's interesting. That's at 6:30. LSU goes to Alabama, number 13 versus number 8. Alabama is 4-point favorites. That's at 6:45 p.m. on CBS. That'll probably be Lundquist, Vern, and the other jabroni. Miami, Florida goes to NC State. That's an interesting game. The Canes are 4-point favorites. That's at 7 p.m. on the ACC network. Stanford goes to Washington State. That's also interesting. Western Kentucky goes to UTEP. That's at 8 p.m. Boise State goes to Fresno State. That's at 9. Also at 9, Oregon State goes to Colorado. Oregon State is 12.5-point favorites. That's interesting. I'd probably hammer Colorado on that one, but depends on how good Oregon State's defensive line is and their linebackers, I suppose. their whole defense. And then to wrap up the night at 9:30 next Saturday, UCLA goes to Arizona. That's a good game. UCLA is 1.5 point favorites in that one. Wow. Did I not see Iowa? Did I not say Iowa? The fuck? We don't play for 2 weeks in a row? Oh, Iowa at Northwestern, 2:30 on Peacock. Man, they're killing me with this Peacock bullshit, but I don't really want to watch a football game be played at Wrigley Stadium either. Just play it on a regular field. Um, hmm. So won't be watching Iowa football for 2 weeks in a row. They go to Northwestern. They're 6 point favorites. I remember talking about this, but I think Northwestern's gonna take it to them. That's what I said. So both Florida State and Iowa play at 2:30 next Saturday. Florida State is on TV on ESPN. Iowa is on Peacock. Illinois, Minnesota's on Big Ten Network at 2:30. Interesting. But let me look at who Louisville plays the rest of the season. So they got Vatech, Virginia, at Miami, Kentucky. They lost to Pitt 38-21. They beat Notre Dame 33-20. Damn. We beat NC State 13-10. Yeah, Vatech's a good test for them. Virginia, they'll stomp. At Miami's interesting, and then Kentucky. I don't see that they maybe lose one, maybe two of those. Kentucky's not in conference. Oh, Vatech, basically Vatech, Louisville, the winner of that is in the ACC championship game against Florida State, probably. Unless Louisville loses the yeah. Looks like Florida State, Louisville is my money. Interesting. Good slate of college football. I mean, it's going too fast. We're already in week 10. I'm looking at who Penn State plays. They still have to go to Maryland next week. They get Michigan at home on November 11th at noon. Then they get Rutgers at home, and then they have to go to Michigan State. So Michigan has Purdue at home next week. They go to Penn State, then they go to Maryland, and then they have Ohio State at home, which will be the wildest thing you've ever seen in your life. Everything going on. Michigan's won 2 straight. Dave Portnoy, I mean, that could ignite the Civil War here in the United States. Ohio State, Michigan, the amount of hatred that will go on the week leading up to, and that Saturday is when what do they call that? The powder keg? Yeah, when the powder keg will go off. That's Saturday after Thanksgiving, 2 days after Thanksgiving. So Purdue at Penn State at Maryland, at home against Ohio State for Michigan. Wow. No rest for the weary there, but they're pretty good. I think you let them play them out no matter what happens. If it happens to be a rule, did they break a rule or whatever? If they need to be punished, if it's decided that Michigan has to be punished, I don't think you punish this year's team. Let it play out. If they win, they can always say they played it out and they won. If they lose, which is more likely, they can say they played it out. But don't punish this year. They've been working. This isn't punish. Take some things away in the past, but don't punish. Don't punish this team, but punish 3 years from now by taking some recruits away. Do it that way. But I don't really give a fuck. I thought they've been stealing signs forever. That's why they've got 3 or 4 guys over there signaling, because you don't know which one's calling the plays. I thought that was to deter people stealing signs from the other sides. If you look at some of these sidelines, there's 30, 40 coaches, or at least people in the same exact shirt and pants and shoes combination along the sideline. There's way more coaches than players. I can't figure out. Like if you watch old movies, like Remember the Titans, there's 2, 3 coaches, 4 coaches, and 40 to 50 players. I mean, one guy's the defensive coach, one guy's the offensive coach, one guy's the head coach, and maybe there's like a trainer, just like an assistant coach, and that was it. And then your team and everybody, like the coach knew everybody. And some players were playing both ways, but anyway, Ohio State has Michigan State. No, they go to Rutgers. Then they have Michigan State at home, Minnesota at home. Good. So Ohio State will beat the piss out of Minnesota. And then they go to Michigan. Whew. Some fun college football left. Let's look at Minnesota's remaining schedule, those motherfuckers. They have Illinois at home, then they go to Purdue, they go to Ohio State, and then they have Wisconsin at home. Minnesota. So, yeah. I've been saying this, trying to get others on board. They should just go to a 12-game playoff this year, like whatever has been written, the agreement, the bylaws of the new 12-game playoff. Like, just there's 12 good teams this year. Is Georgia probably going to win it all again? Probably, but at least make it fun. Like on any given day, a Louisville could upset a Ohio State or a Michigan or a Florida State to knock them out of the playoffs. It's every game you got to show up and you got to win like 4 straight to win the whole thing, or 3 straight, whatever it is. But that would be interesting, and maybe the best teams make it to the Final Four, and that's what you want. Maybe everybody likes an underdog story. Who knows? Maybe Duke makes a run. Maybe I just so happen to be looking at them. That's why I'm saying that. Maybe give Oregon a shot against anybody. They're tough. Utah against anybody. Notre Dame against anybody. Let them play out. So why are we waiting a year? There's enough good teams. Just shake it up a little bit. Just say, you know what? We've worked out the logistics, but we still have a little bit to figure out. But we think it's in everybody's best interest, and there's enough fanfare, support around it. We're gonna implement the 12-game playoff system in 2023, motherfuckers. Like, that's how you get people, like, get them amped up, right? Like, people would enjoy that. They're around others, family, friends, bars. People are being social. Like, times are getting tough, right? But if we can get together as a unit, as a community, as a tribe, as a ship, and really just love each other and enjoy appreciate each other's company, good food, good conversation. You don't want to get bogged down in little tiffs between the family, because at the end of the day, that's all you got. If this thing comes down to it, it's us versus them. Which side you got? You know, um, so you gotta. We're still in the good times. I'm not saying it's dire, but uh, you got to appreciate it while it lasts. And it seems to go by so fast these days. I love getting together with my family, but it feels like Thanksgiving is like 3 hours long, and everybody's this way, this way, this way, and next thing you know, everybody's going home. It's like, what are we doing? We're always at home. Um, Nobody's very social anymore. Why don't we play cards? Why don't we get some photo albums out? Why don't we put some records on? Why don't we smoke a joint? It's 40 degrees out, and reminisce about the good times. Let's go for a ride. Let's go, we can do this, that. Why don't some of you get drunk? Why don't you get hammered? Let's have a ping pong tournament. Let's play pool. We got all these options down here. Let's go hang out at the bar downtown, or yeah, let's go. Yeah, fuck it, man. Um, Shit makes me mad, but again, I am not doing anything to change it. So I think hearing myself say that, I think I want to do something to change that. Like my aunt sent out a mass text the other day, was like, don't forget, you gotta to participate in bingo this year, you gotta bring a gift, blah 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, and I appreciate that because it's a nice reminder, but it was a big deal last year. We've been playing bingo for 25 years now, and it's just chaos and it's fun, but it's nobody's paying attention. But at the end of the day, it's fun and I love it. It's routine. Everybody there loves it. Some of them just want to be able to watch. They don't want to participate. They want to be able to go back and forth. I mean, if they get up and walk away from the table, um, everybody gives them a bad time, and it's not that. Sometimes they just need to have some peace and quiet for a second, get something to drink, get something to eat, snack on everything, and then come back and watch. They get much more enjoyment from watching it than playing, and you shouldn't shame them from sitting out. But we have a good time. But um, they got mad because we don't. They thought that the younger generation, so my sister, me, and my cousins, didn't appreciate the gifts and the planning that went into all of that. And um, it just, at the root of it, it's crazy. Like, what are we, at the end of the day, what are we arguing about? Gifts at Thanksgiving? Like, how spoiled are we getting here? Like, it's not about that. Like, why can't we just organically, um, do those things? I think there's so much more to that, and authentic and genuine than we've been doing gifts forever. Don't tell me I haven't been. How do you think one of my cousins has a 8x10 of our dog Lexi, American Bulldog, and a American Bulldog and American Boxer, I think is what she was. She was a brindle. She was a house and she drooled everywhere, and she was a lovely, lovely dog. But one day she's just sitting in front of the cabinets, or white cabinets in the kitchen, just sitting there giving me the look. And I took a picture of it and I framed, it was the night before Thanksgiving, that Wednesday when everybody comes back from university, from college, and they meet up again. It's been a semester since they've seen each other. People they were surrounded by their entire lives. For some of them, they grew up. They grew up together. They're sandbox kids. They from little kids in daycare. They went all the way through. Their families didn't move. They're very lucky to have a core group, and then all of a sudden you're open up to this entire world, and people go here, here, here. Some people you never see or hear again. Some people pass away. Some people, that shit is crazy. When you're that age, it's wild that you don't realize how small your scope is, right? Um, you think your entire world, and it does. It's good that it exists in like a 20-mile radius, right? But you didn't know anything. There was no phones. I didn't know what was going on in the world. I read the paper sometimes, but it was mostly I was reading the sports paper at breakfast, eating some cereal, eating like 6 bowls of cereal, or I was reading the comic section. I wasn't really reading anything else. I didn't know what was going on in the world. I knew what was going on in the sports world, Um, and it was just, but anyway, uh, that's the college recap for last week. I've been chatting for an hour now, so I'm gonna go. But I need to shave, huh? Yeah, next week will be November already, which is crazy. But I'll be back here. Hope to see you there. Hope everybody's feeling well. I've been battling a cold. My mom has a bad cold. She said, my grandma had a bad cold. So hopefully everybody's getting it through their systems, getting hydrated. Um, we got Thanksgiving in a few weeks, so everybody's got to get ready. We got some festivities planned. I think we gotta do it while everybody's still kicking, because you never know when somebody's gonna um, pass away or whatever. It's just tragic. Just thinking about Matthew Perry from Friends. He passed away yesterday. It's wild that somebody from the Friends cast is now dead. That's mind-boggling to me. But anyway, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. See ya.